Hi, my name is Ted Flett. I'm one half of the Blade Boys, and
I'm Itas, the other half of the Blade Boys.
welcome to the first episode of our second season, the 2016-2017 figure skating season. Well done, Myth. We survived
Yes,
the
we
season.
survived the season. We're not sick of each other yet, which is great.
Well, speak for ourselves. And now notice, first things first, no split screen.
No split screen.
We are here. We are together. We've come together for the 2016-2017 season. It's the season before the Olympics. It's really important that everyone, bond and come together, and that's what we're doing here at Blade Boys.
And then, just read each other and critique each other and make comments, make snipey comments about each other.
Disagree on
everything.
Opinion he presents or puts forth.
Yeah, but for those of you who aren't familiar with us, shame on you. Just kidding. We are the Blade Boys. We are a couple of Canadians who are dissecting and describing and kind of just
derailing
the fun and fabulous world of figure skating and providing our perspectives and our opinions and trying to bring a little more skating out there in the world. The world could.
That's right. Everyone needs a bit
more figure skating for sure.
Yeah. So what we're going to do today is we're going to break down who we think will be the key players in this coming season. We've created some very high-tech visuals to help sort of break down what we think is going to happen or who we think is going to rise to the top and who will be their biggest challengers. As per last year with our Worlds predictions, I have not seen who Myth has picked. Myth has not seen who I've picked. We've really been living in a bubble apart from each other, and silos apart from each other for the past couple months. And
different continents.
This will all be new for both of us. So what we're going to do today, we're going to start off this episode of unveiling our top picks for the men's competition. So I'm going to get my little board ready here.
Normally it's ladies first, but we also believe in saving the best for last as well. So
That's right. Hello.
So
okay,
but we love the men too, and of course there are going to be some with all the quads and. Okay, first, before we get to our predictions, we got to talk about the quads, because every single quad, except for the quad axle, obviously, because no one's crazy, has been landed.
This is true.
So, with Yuzuru Hanyu landing the quad loop just last week at the Autumn International, that means Shoma also landed the first quad flip. Brennan Ross landed the first quad Lutz, but Boyang Jin brought it back last season, and of course, everyone's doing quad sows, and it is a quad fest, okay? So we're gonna be raking in the points, so...
Quadtastic.
It's gonna be a quadtastic season. So we just had to put that out there, and congrats to the guys on, filling all those little quad slots.
Yeah. A check beside everyone except the axle. So.
Okay.
All right, here we go. So the way we've broken this down is we've declared or indicated who we think are the favorites, who are the challengers, and who are the dark horses. Yeah. So
and we won't be able to get to everyone. We'll get through them over the course of the season, but for the purpose of trying to get this done in a decent amount of time, we are just going to talk about a couple skaters, but let it be known that we will try to get to others as soon as possible.
Yeah, we've done the hard work of, distilling and computating all those results like that to come up with these picks. So it's just the top of the top. So here we go.
1, 2, 3.
Hopefully
you've got icons and everything.
Yeah, I went a bit artistic.
Oh, I see. You got a little dark horse, and you got I
got a gold star for who's on top.
Yeah.
I got a bit of fire happening here. Whoops.
Oh.
For who's turning the heat up
for the challengers. Yes.
Yeah, and then the dark horse. It looks like a moose, but it's supposed to be a horse.
Well, we're Canadians, so we like our moose. So yeah.
So. Wow, lots of similarities in these picks. Let's start at the top.
Well, our top two are just, I guess, in reverse order. There's no reverse order that I had for these. Yeah, to me, both Fernandez and Javier Fernandez and Yuzuru Hanyu are the obvious favorites. Javier Fernandez, the two-time reigning world champion, and Yuzuru Hanyu, the world record holder in every program and total score.
Yep.
But Javier is catching up, as well as a couple other people.
And he's the 2014 Olympic champion and the 2014 world champion. So it's almost as though it's like each have two big wins.
Yeah, exactly. And
Hanyo's got Olympics and the 2014 world title. Javier's got the two following world titles.
Yeah.
I think this rivalry between these two men is a lot like Yagun versus Plushenko. I mean, it's these two guys that are pushing each other. They've broken away from the rest of the field, and they're going to continue to raise the bar between one another. In the next two seasons, I think going towards Pyeongchang.
Yeah, for sure. And I really like Javier's programs this year. I mean, his Elvis Presley free skate it's in the vein of Javier Fernandez, which is like kind of entertaining, a little not hokey, but like, he kind of has that humorous quality and that showman quality.
Yes,
that's
totally.
what I meant to say.
Totally.
So he's a showman, and that's his strength. And so to do an Elvis program, Presley, not Stoico, is actually a pretty great choice for him. I was hoping he would do something a little more experimental, because this is kind of like that intermediary season before the Olympics when he can buckle down and go back to something that he's more comfortable with. But I think Elvis is still a really fun choice for him.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, we talked about last season about feeling as though, oh man, is Javier going to sort of break out of his comfort zone? And my sense is he's doing that, and he's probably going to continue to do that with the short program.
Mm-hmm.
But he's found a formula that works for him in the long program to get, well, thus far, 3 quads out in a long program.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what it's going to increase to this year? Although we sort of criticized him last year and we raised questions, now I'm fully on the Javier showman sort of bandwagon. I had the opportunity to go to Boston. As you know, I was there in the World Championships. I saw his performance live.
You saw him at the Grand Prix final too, like you.
Yeah, I did.
He was seeing him everywhere.
But he really killed in Boston. He just slaughtered it. I mean, it was amazing, and I think he's found a formula that works. He's repeating that with the Elvis program a little bit. It's something sort of different, but you're right, within that same vein. And I think it's probably going to be a great fit for him going forward and achieving success this season as well.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. And obviously with Yuzuru Hanyu, he absolutely obliterated any conception of what scores could potentially be last season, particularly with his performances at NHK and the Grand Prix final. I actually thought NHK was slightly better, but the Grand Prix final, the judges, they had their happy juice and they were ready to give some nice scores to people. But regardless, like, he had 2 clean competitions last season. I think he tapered off a little bit at the end of the season, and this year, from what I've heard, his plan is to peak at Worlds and not peak too early. His autumn classic performance was pretty solid. He did 2 quads and 2 axles, but he also had 2 falls as well. So you'll rarely get a perfect free program at the beginning of the season.
You'll never get a perfect program from Yuzuru. Until you do.
Until you do.
And then it just breaks every point.
It just basically breaks figure skating, essentially. But I don't know. I'm not quite sold on his free program this year. I really liked the intensity and power of Seimei last year. I thought it was like it was a warrior-esque program. It had fire and intensity to it. This year, I think he's gone a little bit more classical. It's not like actual classical music, but like with the piano piece that he's doing, it's kind of that softer style, which I guess we were sort of accustomed to. But I really do like his short program to Prince. The outfits are a little wacky, but I guess that's Prince, so it's supposed to be.
It's a lot of white.
It's a white pants.
Yeah,
it's the white pants and the vest, right?
With pattern.
He stole one of Hanyan's vests and then stole, like, I'm trying to think of, was it one of the Russian Paris teams? They had like all white, like they had white pants. It was like from the 90s or something like that. Yeah, so he's bringing the all white ensemble, and of course, I mean, who cares if you can land a quad loop for the first time in both programs, and good for him for like getting that gold, and he's aiming for 4 quads in his program as well this year, so he's upping the ante this season, and we're really looking forward to seeing if he can top his own scores. Not that will make or break your season, but it'll definitely make things interesting as all the other men are also trying to up their technical game.
And I would be fascinated to have a bit of a bird's eye into like the Brian Orser training camp and how those two, I mean, they seem super friendly, but as this rivalry unfolds and as the stakes become higher and higher, you gotta wonder what sort of training looks like day in and day out.
Yeah, see, this is my tea because this is where it gets
It's
to spill all the tea. It's gonna get real hot in the season. So
I'm not speculating. I'm just curious. That's all.
That's okay.
That's all.
Well, we're curious people.
Yeah,
we don't.
totally. So, shall we move on to, speaking of heat, shall we move on to who we think are going to be turning up the heat? So my picks were, we got a bit of light issues here. There we go.
Oh, there you go.
So Boyang Jin and Shoma Uno are my picks for who's going to be the big challengers. And yours are?
Mine were Uno, Chen, and Jin. I will say this. I actually wanted to put Uno in one of the favorites category because his preseason performance, like at Japan Open, he was
getting there.
Absolutely, like he took it, like he defeated Javier, who still skated really, really well. Got 192 points, and Shoma got 198 points. It was at home, so I think the PCS was a little higher in the Japan Open. But that is not to take anything away from the fact that he had a wonderful quad flip. I think some people say that it pre-rotates it. I think that's getting a little bit nitpicky. I mean, honestly, when we watch a skater jump, we're really looking at the landing more than anything. And if your enjoyment from figure skating comes from going back to the replays and slowing it down to the very 10 frames a second slow mo to see, oh, did he get it or not, and then from that base your opinion, I mean, that's fine, but we kind of try to look at the performances as a whole and try to see the elements as a whole. Obviously, if there are technical issues, they need to be called out, but for us, Shoma, for me, he's one of the best jumpers, primarily because he actually holds his landings and gets, his final element essentially is a triple axel, half loop, triple flip.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
That combination has excited me since Evgeny Plushenko went for it at the 2002 Olympics in Salt Lake City. I was like, that is an amazing series.
That's just you know how you open with the statement? That's to open with a quad flip and to end with it's almost like, oh, he added a triple flip, well, obviously, because he can do a quad flip. We are in a new age where, a triple axel, half loop, triple flip isn't as big a deal in the context of, starting your program with a quad flip. And I really love Shoma's programs.
I do too. I think
his free program.
The character of his Spanish free program, I think, is sharper than what was it, Tosca last year?
It was Turandot.
Thank you, Turandot. Yes. It started with a T.
All the green.
Something classical with the T. All that, yeah.
All that green, yeah.
Dressed like a leprechaun. Well, I was not so cool with that, but this is a great approach. I like the sharper music, and something that I've talked about at least is that I'm not crazy about his low free leg landing or position on his landings. Sometimes it hits the ice and it looks a bit messy, and my hope is that this sharper music sort of keeps it a bit crisper and his position's a bit sharper and faster as he checks out.
Yeah, because I notice even things like this, again, we're being so nitpicky for a preseason Japan Open kind of fun competition thing, but even things like his spins and stuff were there were some centering issues and things like that, but we know he can do them, and I think it's kind of not really fair to they're just getting these programs out there. That's the main point of the preseason and these Challenger Series events, also to increase your ranking, I guess. But and to sort of get show the judges that, hey, I'm here, I'm ready to be considered one of the favorites, which is why I was contemplating putting him somewhere in between here and there.
Yes.
But that's Shoma Uno, and I think he is definitely a Japanese skater to watch and definitely a favorite skater to watch. I don't know. I think he can even take out Yuzuru, actually. Because, some programs, you just have one fall and your score, will just, massively drop. It is so tight in the men's game right now that, a clean performance will, go blow the roof off. And like 1 or 2 errors will immediately get like 20 points less. Like
Yeah.
even Hanyu's performance only got 86 points components, which I actually thought was pretty fair. He had 2 falls, and
Right.
it was like the program was a bit tentative because like of course he's like getting it out there.
Yeah,
So
it's new.
throughout the season we'll see these scores rise, but I think that's a really interesting head to head that's kind of brewing for like Japanese nationals and the Grand Prix final, which I expect like Fernandez, Hanyu, and Uno to easily make.
Qualify, yeah.
Yeah.
So Boyang Jin is also on our picks for also as challengers.
Yep.
I
He's
mean,
a bronze medalist, so you got
World bronze medalist. He was a player, qualified for the Grand Prix final last year in his first year as a senior. This is only his second year as a senior. Even as he's still smoothing out the rougher edges in terms of the maturity and the speed and the character of his skating, the technical ability is unbelievable. His consistency on the technique is also pretty impressive. Yeah. And so he's going to continue. I mean, if he can improve on some of the, looking like more of a man on the ice, he will absolutely have the total package this year. I think I didn't put him as a favorite because, he's still just, well, for one thing, Yuzuru and Javier are just in a league of their own, and he's, it's still uncertain exactly how he's going to evolve as he ages. I don't want to say as he ages, but as he continues through these formative years.
For sure, and Boyang last year at Worlds, he absolutely killed it. I mean, everyone was expecting Uno to be the breakout, like junior turned senior skater to medal at their first Worlds, but in fact, it ended up being Boyang Jin because he laid out an amazing technical performance. And some of the other guys, like Uno and like Patrick Chen, they didn't bring their best to Worlds. So Uno totally capitalized, and he totally deserved that bronze medal. First medal, by the way, for China in the men's discipline.
Yeah.
So I think he'll bring, as you said, more artistry this season. He'll refine his skating more. His component score can only rise. And I also think his quads, as he gets stronger, hopefully growing doesn't really affect them adversely. Hopefully they make them even bigger and cleaner and with more control on the exit. I find sometimes his landings are a bit tentative. I mean, it's a quad, so it's kind of hard to fault somebody for like not getting the most pristine quadruple Lutz landing. Yeah. I mean, what's wrong with you, right? But I'm really looking forward to, and he's having some new programs as well, which is good because as much as I loved How to Train Your Dragon 2, I think I think we need some new material.
Slightly stronger music. Now you had Patrick Chen as a challenger. Yes. I have him listed as of course a dark horse. So talk to me. I mean, my sense is with Patrick Chen, last season was his. Was this comeback season, so to get his competitive feet under him again. And he had some great outings. Skate Canada was exceptional. Four Continents was exceptional. The long program at the Grand Prix final was exceptional. There were lots of highlights, certainly, to his season.
Yeah.
Chanflation doesn't seem to be as big a thing anymore, and he's not being gifted by the judges. When he struggles, he gets scores that reflect that, and as others are capitalizing on clean skates, he's, they're being ranked accordingly. But the coaching shift and changes this past summer, relocating from, I guess, Vancouver back to Detroit, now with a team of Marina Zueva and Epstein and
Johnny Johns.
Thank you.
I think. One of my favorite names.
He becomes a bit of a dark horse then in my mind because he's, that's such a dramatic shift in terms of his training base and coaching that I'm just sort of rejigging and reassessing where I think he's gonna fit in.
I can totally see why you would put him as a dark horse this season. And yes, like Patrick made a very interesting choice by going to Marina Zueva, who has coached a lot of primarily pairs and ice dance Olympic and world champions. And the thing about Patrick is that everyone always says, oh, you need to get a jump coach, blah, 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 like all that stuff. And yes, I know like he needs to get the technical on lockdown. Let's remember last season was his comeback season, and he still got a personal best with like 2 quads and 2 axles at 4 continents. So he's clearly capable of that. And now people are trying to see if he can add the quad Salchow. Let's remember that
and he's definitely training it and
for sure
landed at the high performance camp. So,
yes,
so it's there. It's there.
Yeah. So exactly. So it's there. It's just about getting it in the program and getting it out there. And even somebody like Javier Fernandez took a couple seasons to add 2 quads to his short program because he'd been doing them in his long program for a while, so everyone wondered why not in the short. But it's about getting that comfort level, and while people will say, oh, he needs to do this to compete with all these guys who are coming up with more quads, his priority has always been to put out beautiful skating, and if he's falling on his face for his quad Salchow, there's no, while it does get more points and it is kind of gaming the system by just throwing yourself in the air, ensuring it's rotated, and then you pick up some points on it. That's not his priority. His priority is to get back on the ice and really show really interesting, unique programs for him as well, because he's known as this artist. And I think Marina Zueva was a great choice in the sense that Kathy Johnson is a dance coach, and Marina Zueva is an ice dance coach. So I think people should start to realize that Patrick's priority isn't getting that quad Lutz or getting that quad flip. His priority is putting beautiful skating out there. And as you said, chamflation isn't necessarily a thing anymore, but also I think that's because the other guys, their component scores are now getting mid-90s, 90s, kind of de facto. So I think this is where Patrick, his quad style, will become particularly critical, because if everyone's getting around the same component scores, what's going to distinguish people is obviously their technical output. So that's why it's really important that Patrick not necessarily gets clean performances, but gets elements that are rotated and stays in his program, because sometimes I think his focus or his comfort level slightly shifts and he doesn't have as much of a range as some other guys to sort of fix elements when they've gone awry. Some skaters like Chen, if their quad isn't quite perfect, they'll somehow manage it, or even Yuzuru, even if he's leaning or something, he'll somehow have the cat-like reflexes to get rid of it. Whereas Patrick, I think he envisions it, and if it's something goes slightly off, it's very difficult for him to get it back on track. I think Javier is the same way. If he has a slight problem with his quads, he's better these days, but it's kind of hard to get mentally back on track while you're in the middle of a quadruple jump. So I'm still rooting for Patrick. I think he will have a difficult time challenging the top guys, but if you never know, it depends on the day.
Yeah, when he aligns when the stars align, then he's out of this world, and he's definitely amongst the top 2, top 3 contenders, in my opinion.
For sure.
And that's why I put him as dark horse, because the stars have to align, and I think sometimes it seems to me it's a bit beyond his control, and I think this coaching change may take a few months, even a full season, to sort of to get his full feet under him. But
I think it'll get that champion's mentality back into him, and that kind of Marina Zueva has a way of making her skaters feel a fire and a hunger to win, and I know Patrick has that. I just think she will kind of help direct
a little Russian chutzpah.
Yeah, a little Russian chutzpah.
Whip cracking.
Yeah, well, we're not gonna get smacking up Tatiana, right? We're not gonna get that cray, but we love Miss Tarasova, but especially when she puts her students in place and makes them do what they need to do. But I'm really looking forward to what Patrick can produce this season, and I think he will definitely be that's why I had him as a challenger, because you can never count him out. His skating's beautiful. One final comment is his short program will be super critical. Last season it was a bit of a problem, and it would take him out of stuff, and he would always have to come from behind. At Worlds he got it together and put himself in a position, but unfortunately it was the reverse, where his free program wasn't as good. Yeah. But I think if he nails his short programs, he will set himself up for that win, and in his mind he'll go in to competitions knowing that he can execute in both segments.
Right, which he particularly needs if he's not going to be doing 2 quads in the short program.
sure.
Now, for dark horse picks, you've got Nathan Chen. I had Chen and Jason Brown, who were making his sort of competitive return after a bit of after his injury and missing out on the back half of last year's of the last season. So Jason Brown is now going after the quad in his short and long programs based on what we've seen thus far online. He's holding on to the piano program, which I think is like sensational. I think it's a signature program. He skated to it flawlessly at the team challenge at the very end of last season when he did finally come back at the last season, which I think was exceptional.
It was a nice note at the
and
end.
I mean, knock on wood, if this guy can finally get a quad, he would definitely be a player. My sense is that even without it, his component scores are so impressive, and his ability to execute flawless jumps when he doesn't 2-foot the triple axel is exceptional. And so I think his return will also mix up, the American men's skating scene. And of course, your dark horse was another American, Nathan Chen. So interesting times.
Yeah, so I agree that like I was considering Jason Brown as one of my dark horse picks, and again, I think he is artistically one of the best, if not the best, in the field. And what he does better than anybody else is the quality on the elements that he does do.
Yeah.
So he gets the highest rate of execution on his spins. He really understands the power of the performance and and
transitions like nobody.
And transitions, and he makes everything look effortless, and he commits to his performance. Like he's kind of like a Caitlin Osmond. Like even if a performance isn't going well, you will always get your money's worth from Jason Brown because he is just such a lovely skater to watch.
Yeah.
The only reason I didn't include him was because of his quad, and I think he's playing a lot of catch up. Like last season, he was already playing catch up by not having the quad, and this season, like I think he's starting to rotate it better, and I am optimistic that he will land it at least once cleanly this season, which is great because the Olympics are coming up.
No pressure.
No pressure. But it's been such, I don't know, like I just haven't sensed that need to up his technical game as much, and that's totally fine because, like Chen, I think he's a skater who's really about the power of the performance and the audience getting something out of the program, right? Like,
see, I don't know. I mean,
he's not necessarily about like the tricks, right?
I don't know that he's not. I mean, I just think that he's. I can't imagine the training from everything I've learned and read and seen about Courrier and know about Jason Brown and what he said and the strength of his transitions that he would just think, I'm going to take a vacation on the quad. I don't want to do it. I think it's just he's kind of the present day Jeffrey Buttle. This is such a hard trick.
Literally just about to say
it's just beyond him. It's
Jeffrey
just
Buttle,
it's just beyond him. But it's still early, and hopefully he will get it.
It is.
And I think it goes to a bigger debate, similar to what I think sort of happened in the pairs or has been happening in the pairs competition in the last couple of years. Is I think Jason Brown is a nice reminder that this. I mean, yes, it's all about the jumps, but there is more to figure skating and men's figure skating than just the quad. And if you turn off, well, I mean, there's in terms of winning, it's about the quad, no doubt. But in terms of taking in the beauty of the sport and then
what it's fundamentally,
then I think Jason Brown literally beats the rest of the field, with the exception of maybe Patrick Chen.
Yeah, for sure. I think Jason will have a great season. I believe that now that he's starting to get in that like mid 80s, low 90s range, I think the judges really understand that he is one of the highest caliber artists in the field, so they will most definitely credit him for that.
But you've picked Nathan Chen.
But I've gone on the other end of the spectrum, and I've gone with Mr. Nathan Chen.
Yeah, the technician.
So Mr. Nathan Chen's short program layout is a quadless triple toe, a quad flip, and a triple axel.
Crazy.
So I just want to for people to process that.
Let's just digest that.
Let's just digest because even still for if say Jason Brown, for example, wasn't going for the quad, his layout would be triple flip, triple toe, triple lutz, triple axel. Yeah. And Nathan's adding one extra rotation on the first two of those jumps, and about I I think about 13 points in like base value.
Yeah, if he lands that thing, if he lands that short program cleanly at the US
And
Nationals and isn't in
he's
first,
close. He's pretty close.
Phil Hirsch is gonna like.
Oh, he's gonna
lose his.
Yeah.
I can't say it.
But and then of course in his free program, I think like Nathan's just trying to learn every single quad, so he's gonna be like the first guy to do like a seven quad performance or something like that. Well, not 7 quads, like a 6 quad performance. Let's not get crazy. But yeah, I'm so happy that like after his injury last year, Nathan has gone back to the technical drawing board and oh my god, like it's so odd that like, you know, I actually think it started with Boyang Jin, him starting with the quadlets and people realizing that, oh my god, you can be like a bronze medalist. Your artistry doesn't have to be as developed, but like it's now a points game, and it's about, now the men's event is really about showing technical prowess, and because like now everyone's getting the top level PCS.
Yeah, I think the difference is, you know, like Han Yan doesn't have the same kind of competition to get out of China. Sorry, Boyang Jin only has to compete with, and if there's 2 spots on the world team, it's him and Yan Han. Whereas in the case of the Americans, like if Nathan Chen screws up or he doesn't, you know, there's only 2 spots, and there's quite a logjam at the top with Max Aaron, Adam Rapon, Grant Hochstein, Jason Brown's return, Jeremy Abbott is now apparently back in the mix. It's the men's event, like the top 6 at US Nationals could be unbelievable, and Nathan Chen's got whoever wins gold and silver at US Nationals will have to be quite strong in comparison to the others to qualify for those, you know, that team.
And I think that
and there's no absolute hands down favorite frontrunner.
For sure. I think, and I also think that Nathan Chen won't get that newbie PCS like kind of judges holding him down he kind of experienced last year, when I think a lot of people thought he should have won US Nationals, because, you know, to compete on the world stage, as we're talking about, you need that quad, and you need, like, it's a points game, and if you don't have that quad, you're dropping your base value by like 8 or 9 points. So like it makes up for, like, you know, if say your component score is an 85 and the other guys are getting a 93, well, you know, that quad bumps you up, it makes up the difference. So this is why I picked Nathan Chen as a dark horse, because I think he's gonna be like a little Boyang Jin and just kind of like turn everything into a quad fest. But I hope he also brings his programs too, because I know he actually has really good skating qualities, but with such a focus on the quad, I've sort of seen that lacking in his program. But he definitely has the potential to.
So long as he doesn't do anything crazy and over the top daring at an exhibition.
Oh yeah.
So there's that too.
Keep healthy, Mr. Nathan.
That's right. So we're next going to break into the pairs event.
Yes.
And break down who are our top picks there. I think pairs event last year was one of the most exciting disciplines, and I think it could be equally as exciting this year as sort of the ground sort of solidifies under a few skaters, or the ice solidifies under a few skaters, and we see what's up. So shall we?
1, 2, 3. Oh my god, it's hard to like fit pairs teams' names on these things, but okay.
Oh wow, these are quite similar, our picks.
Oh.
You might want to move yours a bit towards the middle in case it gets.
All
right.
There you go.
So we've got, if you can notice here, so my top favorites are Duhamel Radford and Savchenko Massot.
So are mine.
So are Myths. My big challengers are Stobova and Klimov and Tarasova and Morozov. Yours are Stobova and Klimov and Canadians Sacramen Bilodeau. And then my dark horses are Sui and Han and Kavaguti and Smirnov, both coming back from injuries. Yours are also Kavaguti, Smirnov, Sui and Han. You've got a little something.
Yeah, it says later on, because they're missing their first Grand Prix event. But I think they'll definitely make a splash later on. We gotta have at least one Chinese team on in a pairs like ranking. Okay,
completely.
Yeah.
So top pick. So Duhamel Radford, Savchenko Massot, the Canadians and the Germans. I mean, Duhamel and Radford, we talked about this in our world breakdown. I mean, what a spectacular world championship.
Oh my goodness. After a rocky season.
I'm still reeling from that. I mean, that event was unreal.
Them and Javier were like the total, like, We're defending world champions, and this is why. Like, so many people counted them out, and people were like, "Oh, well, Hani's gonna like blow everyone away." Stobova Klimov Volodymyr Trenkov, Sweet are gonna blow Duhamel and Radford away, given the season they had, and they turned it out. Like I still remember that. Like after she was sick at Four Continents and they had to withdraw, coming in the Worlds. I mean, even trying to find the motivation, which was a bit of an issue for them last season, because I mean, when you win Worlds, you're kind of, and there's a couple years away until the Olympics. It's kind of like, well, do we leave on a high or do we leave on another high? So they got to go for a three-peat, right? So
it was. I think they helped to silence the critics that they wouldn't repeat, that they didn't have the stuff to compete against the other artists. What will be interesting to see is if a team like Sweet Han skate completely clean, because of course she fell in the quad. I think they messed up their side-by-side jumps as well.
That was an issue.
We'll see. I mean, it'll still be interesting. I don't think by any means Duhamel Radford should, will coast this season. And they're certainly not approaching it that way by incorporating a throw triple axel in the short program to their, I think, very fun, lively short program set to music by Seal, which also has a really important message about embracing diversity and all that good stuff, which is this is why I really also love this team. It's going to be a really, really
gay
diversity.
Yes. But speaking of throw triple axels in the short program, we also have Aliona Savchenko and Bruna Massot. Like Savchenko and Massot, they are amazing. They're amazing. I mean, their bronze medal was kind of like Chen. People didn't really expect them to win that bronze medal, but they definitely earned it on the merits of skating cleaner than the other teams and beating out a couple of favorites that including past world champions, kind of like Boyang Chen. So it was very interesting to see how the rest of their season would go after the French Federation let them go and allowed them to skate for Germany. And now, I think now that they kind of got that monkey off their back, they're full steam ahead.
Yeah, and I mean, last year really was their second, even though they hadn't competed, it was their second season together. They were still training full out the full season before, doing shows where they could and so forth. So, I mean,
doing interviews with
that's right. We caught them at the beginning of the season last year, which is amazing. Just lovely people, and that, I mean, the World Championships and that performance was the fruits of that labor. And I mean, the throw twist is unbelievable. The new variation, catching her, swinging her around a few times. I mean, I don't know if that gets any additional points, but
gets points in eyeball.
It gets unbelievable.
The judges are like, "What do we do? Just give it +3."
It's got to be +4, really. They need to increase the scale.
I think there are talks of actually increasing the grade of execution scale. I mean, I think that's going to make. That's a whole nother conversation about all the code of points changes that are going on, about how if you have multiple falls, it's greater deductions. Things like anonymous judging going away. Finally, judges now we're seeing sorry, just a quick tangent, but now we're looking at protocols and it's wait, what do you mean there's no longer a 2-point spread between one component score and another? Because judges actually have to start scoring more consistently, and they're actually gonna start getting clocked if they deviate too much from the mean.
The challenge there, though, is that if you then know what a judge is, what their ranking is, what they're scoring, doesn't that then open up another 2002 possibility that judge can then be subjected to pressure because you will know what they're scoring? So
true, but if
Galloway or whoever it is can attempt to fix by knowing who's scoring who and.
Well, I think
anonymous judging, it also protects the judge a little bit.
I think people thought it might protect the judge by, making them less prone to influence. But as we've seen in a lot of competitions, you can look at a protocol and you'll be like, oh, Russian skater, who's the Russian judge? Canadian skater, who's the Canadian judge? You can tell just by the huge jump in score. So it's not, if anything, in my opinion, anonymous judging just kind of makes the judges more audacious and allows them, like, I'm not saying, like, they're all professionals and they're all trained.
They're audacious.
But, like, people are gonna, like, start doing stuff that, like,
right.
and people are gonna notice, and people are gonna take advantage of the fact that they're not being scrutinized. So I think with this, as we're noticing sort of in some of the protocols, there's less deviation. This is probably gonna result in a lot less personal best, which is, I mean, whatever. You want skaters to be treated fairly, not like just overscored based on like, which country they're from, which has been an issue in the history of figure skating essentially. But I think with more transparent judging, we'll start seeing a lot more fair scores, and we'll actually be able to say like, oh well, this is the judge who did that. Like, oh, that Japanese judge, they actually like gave their skater a -3 for a fall instead of a -1 or -2, and it's randomized, so it's like, oh, it totally wasn't me. I mean, and how would you know? Because it's randomized. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's like that's what I'm saying. Like, it was a really weird rationale when they said anonymous judging protects judges, but anyways,
so back to pairs.
Because, well, pairs and like judging, pairs and judging, like they're it's important.
Goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Hi, Jamie. Hi, David. So, Stobova and Klimov, we both have listed as challengers.
Yes.
So, I mean, I have loved this team since 2014, since the Sochi Games. I thought
Adam's
last
family.
year, Adam's family was great.
I loved that.
I loved Adam's family. She last year cut her hair. They went with a bit of like a, the more romantic vibe for their short program, which I wasn't originally picking up.
Sassy, right?
And a super,
like,
sassy, and then like a super creepy long program. But as the season went on, I thought their short program became fierce, and I thought the long program was like captivating and mesmerizing and really impressive, and of course hit its stride, I suppose, at the Grand Prix final, and then it wasn't something that they could sustain due to the injury to him, and then she also had an injury. He had the shoulder injury. I think she had a leg injury.
Yeah,
it was a mess. The fact that they showed up to Worlds was good on them.
And they did really well, actually, I thought, at Worlds. I mean, they also added the triple-triple. Let's not forget that they're the first team to do a triple-triple side-by-side jump combination, which is, like, super impressive because, like, there's not a ton, like, there's only a select number of ladies who can do a triple-triple, and she's in pairs, right? It's kind of like Megan with her, like, triple Lutz. There's not a ton of ladies who can do, like, a nice, clean triple Lutz, and she's in pairs doing it. So it's always impressive when you see these pair skaters starting to, like, develop their technical abilities to the level of almost single skaters, right?
And there was also, I mean, I think that this is also, I think, looking like it could be a really good season for Stobova and Klimov because of the artistic stretch that they underwent last year, adding the technicality or the technical difficulty of the triple-triple combination was also, a big growth element for them. This year, they don't have the sort of that monkey on the back with Bilodeau and Trankov, who, of course, she's pregnant. They're out for this season, so they don't have that to worry about. I really think the Russian spotlight, although there will certainly be challengers like Trastevin and Morozov and like Kavaguti and Smirnov and whoever else is sort of waiting in the wings. I think the spotlight will be on them. This is their season to lead the Russian brigade, I suppose, and I think they can feel good about that and really push forward. Apparently, as well, I think there were some personality conflicts in the Moser training camp. I guess Bilodeau and Trankov and Stobova and Klimov actually didn't share ice together. They would skate different sessions during the day. That was uncovered during the World Championship. So you wonder if, there was some challenges in the training camp, and now it will be like they'll be the rulers of the roost, and it can be all about Stobova and Klimov, and
I think they have a really good shot at and I think they have something to prove this season. Last couple of seasons, they've had injuries. They've had kind of, again, personality issues that were going on behind the scenes. But this year is really where they need to get into high gear because I actually think it's an opportunity for them with Bilodeau and Trankov out. Congratulations, by the way. And I think this is where they really need to assert themselves as that Russian number one because chasing them will be who you have as your second challenger, Tarasova and Morozov, who they beat Kavaguti Smirnov in their Challenger Series event, and they've added a quad twist as well, which is upping their technical game. We knew they would because they have a fabulous twist.
I think they tried it at Russian Nationals last year.
Oh, they might. Yes.
But now it's they pulled it out when they thought they absolutely needed it, and now it looks like it could be a staple for this season.
Oh, for sure, and it's almost like a requirement now that if you're chasing the top contenders, you need a quad, like some sort of quad element, which is great to see. And like I think a quad twist is like generally safer, so teams don't have to worry about flinging the partner who might not want to be thrown as a quad. But like I think a twist is a wonderful alternative to that, especially for teams like Savchenko and Masou who have a really high twist, or Tarasova and Morozov who also have a wonderful twist. And it kind of it's interesting how it sort of levels the playing field, because Stolbova and Klimov, they don't have a great twist, but they have the triple. So it makes things really interesting. And instead of putting like comparing two teams based on like, oh, whose quad twist is better, it's almost like now you're starting to look at what makes each team unique and special and distinguishes them. Yeah.
And similar, for example, but the battle between Duhamel, Radford, and Sui and Han. So Duhamel and Radford have the side-by-side Lutzes and the throw quad. They don't do a throw or a quad twist. They don't plan to. They're going to do everything they can to make sure it's a level 3. But that's where they stop. Whereas Sui and Han have the throw quad Salchow, and then they've also got the quad twist, but they don't have the side-by-side Lutzes. So it's like every team is just sort of capitalizing whatever they can to, whatever element they can, crank out another rotation on, they're gonna do it. But no team has like all their bases covered, which is fun.
Which is good.
We're not. I think it makes it more exciting.
I think like if Duhamel and Radford added a quad twist and added a second quad throw, and then they were doing that, they'd be kind of like,
and then the throw triple axel,
and then the throw triple like that. Then the other teams would be like, okay, we give up. We get like,
yeah, totally.
We are
totally. They're like, where's this thing going to be hosted in 2022?
You'd be like, you guys are the Simone Biles, and we will just play for the silver medal at this point.
Totally.
But. Speaking to Tarasova and Morozov, I had them as a dark horse. I actually kind of wanted to put them as a challenger as well. See, I'm just kind of tentative because I've loved this team for the longest time, and I thought they've always sort of been in the shadows of both Klimov and Belashazar and Trankov.
Yeah.
But now that they're getting older, they're kind of like Sui and Han, where they're developing that maturity more. They're adding the quad twist, so they're really upping their technical game. I actually think that at some point I feel like they're really ambitious and they will push for like harder elements. So I think they're not looking to be the Russian number 2 anymore. No. They're gunning straight for Sobov and Klimov, and I actually think they're a threat for the world podium. I mean, that's a pretty lofty prediction, but like I actually think that they have a shot, and it really depends on how their season goes in terms of consistency,
right?
And also how they fare in comparison to Stolbova and Klimov, because usually the Russian number 1 ends up getting a little more favorability going into Worlds.
Right.
Not that it happened at last Worlds with Belashazar and Trankov.
Totally.
So
everything.
There goes that.
Yeah, true.
So
you snuck in the Canadian. Speaking of number 2, you snuck in the Canadian number 2, Sacramen Bilodeau.
So Sacramen Bilodeau, I've been always a fan of this team. I think they have a very fresh, youthful quality to them that the judges aren't marking down for being like, too juvenile. They're actually seeing it as kind of like almost like a Tara Lipinski type thing, where they're like, it's really fun and vibrant to watch them. Angelic, so it's okay if they don't have this romantic, like classical lovey connection that sometimes top pair teams are known for. And they've also added, so the autumn classic, like good on the autumn classic this year. This was like we had a little thing about how it threw us for a loop, because with Honey landing as quad loop,
pardon the pun,
we had Sacramen Bilodeau, I believe, I'm pretty sure, landing the first ever side by side triple loop. So obviously, other than side by side triple axles, not that we're gonna get like Mao and Shoma to suddenly be a pair. But until that happens, now the pairs teams have done every single triple.
Who's done side-by-side flips?
Duhamel and Radford. They did side by side.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
they
right.
have flips and lutz. So,
Right.
but I think at this point they're just kind of like, okay, we'll give the other teams a chance. We'll just do like lutzes and toes, and obviously like it's hard to like get the edge right on both a flip and a lutz. Actually, for a while I thought their triple flip was a triple lutz attempt, but regardless, like congrats to the Paris teams on like filling out all the side by side triple spots finally. So it's a really
I think
technical
it's
season. Yeah. Come on,
and
technical.
It's almost like so Sacramen and Bilodeau are not going to be happy to just gun for number 2 in Canada by incorporating the side by side triple loops.
It sets them apart. In the judges' minds, they're like, wow, if everyone skates clean and these ones, this team does side-by-side triple loops, which are like a point higher as well. So, it's a smart... While it seems like a point higher, in the judges' minds, they'll acknowledge that the program's more difficult. And the way they landed it also... It looked like they've been landing that for like years.
Yeah,
like
the setup. You gotta watch
like,
closely. The setup looks like sow cows. They're going for sow cows, and it's like
they just kind of do it. And
yep.
But the thing that fascinated me most about it looked like they were like doing like a practice triple. Like it looked like they were doing like how Megan warms up doing double loops. Yeah. Like it looked like a practice thing for them, and it was just so clean. I was actually just kind of. I didn't even know they were actually going for a side by side triple loop at that point.
And to your point about
And they were. I'm like, oh, there it is.
Yeah, creating energy that's not necessarily sort of the lovey-dovey romantic that you've seen so much of, and yet they are embracing that for the long program, which might be incredibly favorable to the judges.
Yeah.
Now we've got we both have Sui and Han as dark horses. I mean, Sui and Han should be up his faves, but because of her injury and I think she's only just recently, in the last couple of weeks or a few weeks, returned to the ice. So big question mark as to how they're going to be this season. Yeah. But
they've done it
before. If they could, they sure have. And if they can put out anything like their short program last year at the World Championships, that was like 2 minutes and 40 seconds of pairs.
Excellent.
Genius. I mean, that was unbelievable.
Like I've liked Velocity and Trankov, but to me that is like the best short program I've ever seen.
Really?
So,
Okay. Yeah.
Like I like. Well, okay, sorry. I think Velocity and Trankov, might have had better ones in the past, but their personal best from Sochi isn't as good as that particular short program that Sui and Han put out at Worlds. I thought it was a phenomenal. It was exactly the right balance of technical.
It had everything, intensity, and tenderness,
it was so good.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome.
And I mean, like, quick note on like the other Chinese pairs with like the
switch,
the wife swap, husband swap, the partner swap that where Yuan Jin and Peng and Zheng they decided to like swap partners where it's like.
Yeah.
Let me get this right. Yeah. But yes, it's not you and Peng.
You is with Zheng.
You is with Jen. You and Jen. Sorry, no. You is with Zhang. And Peng is with Jen.
Yes.
This is gonna confuse us all.
I don't know what could the strategy
Chinese Federation. Why do you do this to us? Why do you do this to us?
Why don't you talk to the Blade Boys if we went and did anything like that?
Right?
What would the strategy be behind this?
I don't know. I don't know what the strategy is. I think it throws them for a loop a little bit. I mean, I was upset because Yuan Jin to me was one of the like on the rise teams, and
totally.
And from what I know, they're not particularly pleased with this, and it's gotta be hard for your federation to be like, okay, now swap. Like you're like this isn't like an exhibition where like. Let's see what it's like if we do a death we do that. We're still
death spiral.
Where the two pairs they do the death spiral together. No. Okay. Anyways, we'll see how that unfolds. I'm not sure. I didn't include any.
I don't have high hopes, but who knows? There must have been some brain behind it. So who knows what man tried.
Yabin was at a summer party. He was doing a keg stand. It's like, it'd be really hilarious if we just kind of...
Let's just throw everything up in the air. And then we've both got Kavaguti and Smirnov.
Yes.
This is like, what a team these two are. You know, there's times
comeback kids.
There's times when their programs, their jumps, their landings are not always the prettiest. But my gosh, they gritted out like nobody's business. They've upped their technical energy. Last year, they landed the 2 quads in the Cup of China. Big upset against Sui and Han.
Yep.
And they're back for a 700th season.
Yeah. And they keep surprising. Like they took out Sobov and Klimov at Europeans a while back. Mm-hmm. Let's not forget that death glare, okay? Yeah. Ain't nobody forgetting that anytime soon.
Totally.
But they're always like a perennial favorite, and I feel so bad because I honestly think that they have the potential to like be consistently that like world podium team, and obviously they've been on the world podium, but it's just like, oh, you're so close, and like it just seems that something always comes up, but. I think Russian nationals will be absolutely fascinating because I think they like any one of those 3 teams can take it depending on how well they skate, which is great because like often it comes down to reputation and like obviously Sobov and Klimov have had more accolades throughout their career, but maybe Russia's sort of starting to see a change of the guard a little bit, and maybe a Konstantin Menshov-esque thing is happening with Kavaguti and Smirnov, where the Russian Federation is like, okay, well, these guys are actually still producing, and like instead of like holding them down, and they're actually beating our top team. So like, let's give them more opportunities, and let's put some faith in these in this team, because they're putting in the work. They're at it. They're doing 2 quads. I don't know if they were both clean. I think that's something. I'm pretty sure Megan wants to like do that quad Lutz and that quad Sauka at some point. I mean, there's the throw triple axe. Can you imagine, like, your short program, you do the throw triple axe and be like, well, that was our triple to get out of the way. And
now onto the quads.
And now onto the quads for a long program.
Yeah.
Like,
my sense is the lessons that they learned from last season, they're going to abandon the throw lutz.
Yeah.
The throw quad lutz altogether. I agree. I think Kavaguti and Smirnov...
They'll just do the triple axe from the quads.
Yeah.
Which is totally sufficient.
I don't think they're good. No, I don't think they're doing... I think they're doing the throw triple lutz in the long program. I don't think they're...
they're not doing
triple axles just for the short program to sort of maximize and get a bit of distance there.
Well, fair.
Kavaguti and Smirnov, when they came third at the 2010 Olympics after the short program and didn't capitalize in the long program to get on the podium in Vancouver, I thought that was their opportunity, and this is not going to get any easier going forward. But... they keep coming back again and again and again and again. They've resurrected an old program for their long program, which I don't love as much. I think new material would have been better for them, but I guess they want to go with something that's reliable and comfortable so that she can recover from the injury and get back, get their competitive legs back under them. So those are our picks for pairs. Shout outs to the Canadian pairs as well, like Ilyushashkina, Moskovich, and Mortars and Marinero, who did exceptionally well at last year's World. So again, I wouldn't count them out of taking some Grand Prix medals. Unfortunately, the U.S. the U.S. silver medalists, Skimek and Knierim are out with an injury, but that leaves Kane and O'Shea, the U.S. champions, to like sort of represent for the American. And Denny and Fraser.
And Denny and Fraser, of course, that's a very exciting team to watch as well. So the Paris is going to, and then of course, like, I don't know, Tatiana, like, she's a trooper, right? She'll probably have that baby and come back on like to competition like the next hour or something. She'll be like, okay, well, I lost the weight. Here's my baby. Put it aside and back to doing my.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I would not put that beyond.
I wouldn't put it back.
That is a superwoman. So like,
the competitive fire in those two, it wouldn't surprise me. And we also, time limited. We didn't talk about James and Supre.
Yeah.
We will get to them later in the season. I think also a rising team. They've plateaued, unfortunately, like 8th and 9th and 10th.
They can't seem to get a break.
But that's got to snap. Something's got to get through, and they're now training with John Zimmerman. So a little coaching mix-up and training site change will hopefully be just the antidote that they need to really fix their competitive skating. So. There's the pairs in a nutshell. That
always an exciting event, and I think this, even with like Sui-Han and Veloster and Trankov not really on the Grand Prix series, there's still a lot of intrigue surrounding which teams will start emerging and going into the Olympic season. As we saw last year, like it was the world's podium was not the easiest to predict.
Could have been anybody.
So,
could have been 3 Russians on the podium.
So I honestly think like. it's gonna be even more like coming up to the Olympics
Completely.
because now all these other teams are starting to like catch up. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter, comment here, and keep tuning in for future episodes.
And these are the Blade Boys signing off. Hope it's a good season.